So, a lot has changed since the last time you were on this show. I think you are
Yeah,
now you're now co-host with Reef Breland on INN News on Wednesday nights, and that
yeah,
show has really taken off. It's
yeah.
the kids dig it. They said it's got a nice beat and it's easy to dance to. So I said, sure. Yeah. I mean, you're
I-
right. I mean, it is good though. I mean, it really is.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah, I
why don't you
appreciate
talk about
that.
that a little
And
bit?
yeah, it's funny because like I never would have imagined doing INN News, and then Reef, I believe it would have to be in March. He asked me because he had the idea, and he asked me to co-host with him, and I was like, no, I don't want. Like, I just felt like because those of you who know, like, this is not. I have a job. I teach during the day, and then I do some, education advocacy work, in DC, like fairly frequently. So I felt like I don't have the time, or the patience, and then I think I think also the main thing was, like, and I've talked about this with Reef actually last week, like feeling like at times you have imposter syndrome, and it's in the case of like, I feel like I don't know anything, like I don't like I think I'm definitely more political minded now, especially like being in this space. But like at the end of the day, like I just consider myself a normal guy just trying to live my life who just happens to have an interest in politics and kind of, knowing how it does affect our lives. So obviously trying to be on top of what, our leaders are doing and how ultimately their actions kind of affect the things that I do. So, just obviously trying to be more in touch with what's going on with the higher ups, so to say, and especially since I live in DC. So like I'm right here, like with all the fuckery that's going on. But all that to say, like I said no to Reef, and then like I'm not sure what he did. Um, but he kind of convinced me, in the sense of like, because I do have my other channel, Kamano Mukwano. I haven't really done anything on that, honestly, but I really want next year, really want to add, include more content on that channel too. But because I focus mostly, issues on Africa on that channel primarily, you know, the idea was to give me another outlet where I'm able to talk about other issues that I do care about that wouldn't necessarily fit. So I think that was his mindset of being like, like you have things you want to share, and and so so after some convincing, I was like, okay, sure, and 30 plus episodes in, I think we're now beginning to find a rhythm with it. So, and I enjoy it. So it's a lot of work, this, but it's a lot of fun to do. And I think, the community that we're growing, has really been receptive to it, especially since we don't, like, obviously we have to talk about like the drama, obviously, that's how YouTube works. But using that in the sense of like talking about other more obscure stuff, kind of similar to How Do We Miss That, that Reef and Indie also hosts, just having the opportunity to kind of focus on stories that people don't necessarily talk about. So focusing on more labor-based issues, trying to bring in, some, like looking at revolutionary leaders in the past. People know I'm really getting deep into Kwame Ture right now. So trying to bring that in context of what's happening now, and how we can kind of move forward, on the left especially. So so it's been great because I'm learning as I'm doing it. So in many cases, it's like the stories that Reef picks or I pick or collectively we pick is actually stuff that, like I might know about, but at the same time, it's like, oh, I didn't know that, So it's kind of like I'm sharing that. I'm kind of learning with the audience, in terms of some of these stories, especially more of these obscure ones that are not necessarily reported either in mainstream or even within independent media. So yeah, it's been great, just as far as that learning experience. But just kind of growing more comfortable just being on camera too.